What's up, everybody? Noah Kids are back here for another episode of Noah and Scottie Reviews. This is the 5th episode we're doing, and we're having a great time doing this show. We have a lot of reviews to get to. We got 8 Hallmark movies in total. We watched them all this weekend, and let's get right into them. We got very little time, a lot of movies, and some news, and a couple more trailer reviews. So let's get right into it. A Season for a Family is all about while Maddie's adopted son wants to meet his brother Cody, who is adopted into another family, Cody's father isn't ready. Well, that kind of spoils the movie, don't it? Because that's not what this movie's about. What this movie is actually about is all about this mom and dad who have these 2 adopted kids. And the one kid whose father is Brendan Penny doesn't know that he's adopted. And then the mom's son does. So it's pretty much Paul trying to come to terms with how he's going to tell his son that he is adopted, as well as them falling in love and the boys forming a bond. This is pretty much a friendship film, sort of mixed with the romance. This film is perfectly fine. It's a perfectly good Hallmark film. There's good moments here and there, but this has nothing that makes me want to go back and rewatch it immediately. This is a really good film. Don't get me wrong. But this might be the definition of like a good film that might be a watch every 2 or 3 years. Brendan Penny's very, very good here. But what this film struggles with is the ending. The ending is where it's just kind of there. You knew where the story was going, and that's not an issue. It's just the way it happened. The conclusion of these plots are just so unsatisfying for me as a critic and as a viewer. I just didn't really enjoy that. I wanted more from that. I wanted more of an emotional impact, and I just wanted more from this film as a whole. With that being said, the chemistry is there between our love interests and the kids. It has some funny moments, some heartbreaking moments, but also a really nice story that could have just had a better ending. If it had a better ending, I think this would have been a better film overall. What did you think of A Season for Family?
It was a good start to the 8 films we were getting. But like you said, it was just a solid, good film that wasn't anything overly amazing. I thought the kids worked very well together. There was chemistry between our leads, or between everybody really. But the story, it had its moments. I wanted a little more from the side couple, the best friend and sister. I like to have gotten more of them. I feel like, they introduced them, but don't give us enough of them together in this one. And the ending for me, it was fine, but it definitely wasn't anything overly amazing on how they did it. They basically just set him down and told him, "Hey, you're brothers." They didn't find out any kind of amazing way or spectacular way or whatever. But it was still a fine ending, but definitely one I could still watch again, and was good enough to get a 4 out of 5 from me. But not one I'm like all jumping up and down excited for. Like, yes, this was one of the best of the year so far.
Now, I also went with a 4 out of 5 for that one. I think it's good. It's definitely one of the stronger films we've gotten from this past week, but it's not the best. I believe there's a couple more films that I would watch over it, even though one of them or 2 of them don't have the highest scores or higher scores than that one, just because of a couple issues. But this one is dividing people. This is very divisive. It's Catch Me If You Claws. Catch Me If You Claus is the Luke McFarlane, and I always mess up her name. It's Italia Ricci.
Mm-hmm.
I said it right. Italia
Yep.
Ricci and Luke McFarlane and Catch Me If You Claus. On the verge of her big break, aspiring news anchor named Avery Quinn catches a home intruder wearing a red suit claiming to be Santa's son, Chris, played by Luke McFarlane. I really enjoyed this film. This felt like a very goofy, over-the-top comedy, and with this film, I can see why people are not enjoying it. But my thing is, this movie is getting overly hated because it gets goofier as you go. I think we can both agree. It gets dumber as you go. But here's the thing. How dumb it gets is going to work for some people and not for some people. This worked for me as a overall goofy screwball comedy that worked on the most of the time on the romance level. There was a scene that I'll get into in just a minute that I really didn't care for. I thought it didn't fit. The chemistry was there. The script was very funny. I enjoyed our actors. Good job. This film really worked, except for I didn't really care for the ending. The ending was a little bit rushed. It was a little bit messy. And Santa was a little bit unlikable in here. Chris's dad, that was not a Santa Claus. We've seen a lot of Santa Clauses this year so far. And the Santa Clauses we've gotten have been a lot nicer. They've been a lot nicer. This guy, I think that this was his first time doing Christmas by himself. And maybe his dad was just being overbearing because he's done it for, hundreds of years maybe. But we didn't get a whole lot of Santa either. So they didn't really explain why he was getting all jittery and angry about what he was doing wrong and stuff like that. But the movie just worked for me as a screwball comedy, and as a screwball comedy, I enjoyed it. What kept it from being a perfect film for me is, of course, the ending, as I've already discussed. But the first kiss they share is very uncomfortable because it just felt like you were in a completely different genre of film. They're in the car. They're hiding from the cops. And they just have a makeout session in the front seat of the car. I'm like, well, that's not Hallmark. This is very odd. This might be something for like a Lifetime film or something like that, but this did not feel like a Hallmark film. This had very high production value. The camera work, the lighting, the widescreen, just the overall tone of this film felt very different compared to any other Hallmark movie I've seen. This felt very big budget, over the top, and they knew what they had here. Now, I know that you did not enjoy this film as much as I did.
No,
So
not at all.
without going into all the flaws, without giving away the spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Go into your brief thoughts on the film.
Well, say how to minimize it so it's not giving stuff away. Because I did my review and uploaded it to my channel already. It's like an 18-minute long video on all my flaws with this movie. To me, I didn't really find this movie funny. There was maybe a couple moments where I laughed a little bit, but to me, I didn't get the comedy aspect from it. I didn't like what they did with Luke McFarlane as Santa. To me, he came off as like a Chippendale dancer, just trying to show off his body for the ladies watching. And he didn't have the magic. He didn't have the Santa magic. Like you said, his dad, who was supposed to be Santa, was just hateful throughout the whole movie. I wished we could have had an elf, actually, somebody that actually looked like an elf playing in this one. It felt like to me that they tried but didn't try hard enough. It felt like the script for me was just very messy. I had obviously a lot without going into details and spoiling stuff. I can't give away all my issues with it, but it just the script felt messy. It didn't have the magic that I was looking for for something that was Santa throughout the whole movie.
Mhm.
And it was just one I was very disappointed in. I mean, I was hoping to love it. I was hoping it'd be a good, different kind of a rom-com from them, but I just didn't get that. And I mean, I ended up going with I think a 2 out of 5 for it. And
Mhm.
basically, because of the couple times I did laugh in it, and I did like uh, Italia Ricci in it. There was some chemistry there between them, but other than those few things, it just didn't work for me. I just didn't feel that magic from it. I didn't really see it as a comedy or nothing. So
Mhm.
that's pretty much about all I can go into without giving away too much. So I don't want to make it another 18-minute rant on this film of how many times they messed up in this film for me.
Mhm. I didn't have very many big issues. It was just those couple there, just because
Mhm.
this film worked as a comedy for me, and the chemistry was there. I just didn't care for the awkward makeout session in the car, the Santa
Mhm.
in this, and then the ending. The ending, it was fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but this is the weakest Luke film. We had a fantastic film, right? We had a fantastic film earlier this year with Notes from Autumn.
Uh-huh.
That film is very, very good.
Oh yeah.
That's not as good. This is not as good, but this is definitely better than his past couple of Hallmark films from the Christmas season and past. I think this is his strongest film since probably Taking a Shot at Love. I really enjoyed this more than Christmas in My Heart. I enjoyed it definitely more than both Mariah's Lighthouse and A Magical Christmas Village. Definitely better films than those ones. But let's get into this one. Letters to Santa. You want to talk about a disappointing film? This movie is very disappointing. This is all about young siblings who use a magic pen from Santa to wish for their parents to get back together, among other things, while their parents are going through some marriage troubles. This was more of a drama, but also that magic pen that I just mentioned, it's in the film. That should have been the focal point of the film. This has very little to do with Santa and Letters to Santa, because what we have here is a story all about these kids who want their parents to get back together. They're living in separate houses. They're living from one house to another. They go and see Santa, and Santa says, "Hey, this magic pen. If you write this to me, I will bring you what you want." So this one kid wants like a PS5. This the girl wants this. They keep on just writing and writing and writing. And the way that they deliver those gifts is very, very nice. I liked how they added in that certain character who does those things for him.
Mhm.
But the issue here is the parents are so unlikable in this film. They're just bickering and bickering and bickering. And I get it. This is supposed to be a drama, but you need to have likable characters. Our lead in here, I'm not going to try and say his name because I'm awful with names. He did fine in the role, right? He did fine in
Yeah.
the role. The acting is good. The story is bad. The overall just story of this film, the chemistry between them is there in the romantic scenes. There's moments where they're trying to flirt. There's moments where they're trying to be somewhat romantic. But then there's moments where they're just going at each other for very little reasons. And the way they get back together is just a little just lackluster. The song that's in the film I didn't think was all that great. I thought you could have done something other than that. because he's supposed to be a songwriter. We don't see him work on a song at all. We don't see him work on a song throughout the entire film. She's supposed to be a kid's author. The author does some writing in this film. She has ideas. She goes to meetings. She's trying to pitch this book. She's trying to sell this book. But the issue is you're probably going to bring this up in your portion. And I saw a Instagram, believe it was Hallmark movie reviewer who said this. She's supposed to be selling a Christmas book. They're going to be printing and selling a Christmas book. She's doing this on Christmas Eve. You're supposed to be delivering that on Christmas Eve? When are you putting out the damn book? Next year? That's a good time to wait for it. But this film had unlikable characters, good chemistry between our two stars, but when your characters are unlikable, there's very little to build off of this. There's very little in this film to like. Besides the kids were not annoying. The kids did a good job. The acting was good. The story had promise. The magic pen could have been used a little bit better, and you could have made our mom and dad a little bit more likable. Because if they weren't bickering the whole time and actually trying to come up with very good ideas to try and solve their marriage issues, instead of bickering about, hey, you spent this much money on this. You went to a divorce lawyer? Why? Well, you see, that's things you should be talking about earlier than what they did. But I could go on about this film. This movie was so disappointing. I thought that if you edited the script a little bit better, if you trimmed it more, if you could have added stuff in here and taken out the bickering, I thought this would have been a better film overall and make it more of a romance film, sort of like a Just the Way You Are with Candace Cameron Bure, about a husband and wife coming back together and falling back in love with each other. That's not what this film is. This is them bickering and coming back together with very little of a resolution to their problems. But there's my thoughts on it. What did you think?
Yeah, pretty much same as you. I mean, it felt like in a way they were trying to make their own little version of A Marriage Story, minus the big blow up scene like in the Marriage Story, Marriage Story movie. But I don't understand. They're seeing a therapist. They've been seeing a therapist. I think she said they've been seeing him for like 4 months or something, and had made no progress during the therapy. To me, they should have just had them be. They should have started out the movie with them going to the therapist, realizing it doesn't work, and then them separating, and then jumping ahead a year and trying to make Christmas work with them being separated, and have the kids trying to bring them back together by Christmas so they can be one big happy family at Christmas time. That's what should have happened. I think that's not what we got. It was just basically them bickering back and forth. As you said, being very unlikable. They try to give you some jealousy aspects in here. Didn't work whatsoever on any level because they just didn't go through with it. They just kind of like dropped it after so long, and it just nothing worked. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it went so wrong. I like the kids. The kids did a good job. And I like, I like the grandma. I like the way they did the presents and stuff, how they made the letters kind of come to life and work. But everything else was just a big letdown. And it kind of sucked because I come off of, Catch Me If You Claus, hoping to get back on the right track with this one. I like the girl that's in it. She's deaf in real life, so I like to see her in roles and succeeding in roles, see how she does in them. and I think she did really good in this, but overall though the script just didn't work, and I ended up giving this one a 2 out of 5 as well.
Mhm.
I mean, it got the same as Catch Me If You Claws, unfortunately.
I went with a 2.5 in this one. Now, am I going to rewatch this one? Probably not. No.
No.
I would rather watch. I would probably rather watch almost any other film that from this past week than this one. But talking about going on, getting back on track with it, right?
Mhm.
Holiday Road. Holiday Road, a travel writer, a tech entrepreneur, a devoted mother, and more strangers are stranded at the airport for the holidays. They rent a van for an unexpected road trip. This film could have gone very wrong. It could have gone so wrong. With
Yeah.
this many characters, if you don't give enough character, okay, if you don't give enough attention to each character, that's what I'm trying to say, then your movie is going to fail because some of these characters are going to fly way under the radar. And that's what
Yeah.
almost happened with one character. But he had a nice emotional arc at the very, very end because while he's a likable guy, he's really likable.
Mm.
We know very little about him. There's teases
Yeah.
here and there, and I was hoping for a payoff. But what we get here is a very fun road trip comedy. Very fun road trip comedy. Like with the past 3 films, the ending, the very end of this film, once we get to the big kiss between Warren Christie and Sarah Canning, I didn't like that scene. Yes, it's very Hallmark-esque, but it just didn't fit the rest of the film to me. It did not fit the over-the-top, fun, emotional ride that we just went on. Instead, it's just here's your typical romance ending, which is it's fine, it's fine. But what does work here is the chemistry between our stars, between our characters. The story here works. It's a road trip film that does have some stakes to it. Each character has a reason to be uh, on this road trip. They have a reason here. Some more than others. Some are more sad than others. Some are more nerve wracking than others, and some are basically just there to go and see their family.
Yeah.
But the chemistry between our 2 love interests here, Sarah and Warren, it was fine. Nothing great. I wasn't watching this as a romance film, but they have to have that. They have to have it in there because it's a Hallmark film. This is a Hallmark film, but the issue is the chemistry did not work for me all that much. But the rest of the characters I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the banter back and forth. I enjoyed that they focused on the road trip, and I was a little nervous once we got to the Elf Games because that's when the film started to slow down. It started to drag a little bit at the Elf Games, and that was your preview. That was your preview from the night
Yeah.
before. Was the Elf Games? That's barely in the movie. The Elf Games are barely in the movie. It does give you a good bit of hey, this is over the top, but I enjoyed it overall. One I can see myself enjoying many more times. This will probably be in a 9 movie pack or a 6 movie pack next, probably October, November time, and I will look forward to popping it. Will I pop this one in again? Probably, but I'll watch other films later that we will talk about later over this one easily. But what were your thoughts on Holiday Road?
Well, this one was definitely a made me laugh more. It definitely brought some heart to it. Um, it for me, one of the biggest issues I had was with this one was the fact that the flight gets canceled. We know the flight gets canceled. That's why they're having to go across, road trip to get to Boston or wherever it is they're going. I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I don't understand. I never said, like, where's this big snowstorm or whatever that canceled the flights, because they were traveling straight to the same place the flight would have been, and we got no real weather issues, even though you think we would have, considering it canceled flights. The phones wouldn't work for some weird reason. I didn't understand that very much, why the phones wouldn't work and they had to use a map. I couldn't figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
But and I kind of wish they would have touched a little more, which I understand why they didn't, but I kind of wish we could have got a little more from the issue that popped up at the Elf Games towards the end of the Elf Games, if you know what I'm talking about, without giving it away. Kind of wish they could have touched more on that, because I thought that could have been an interesting storyline, and they just kind of went away from it after that one scene.
Yeah.
And but I mean, it was still a really good film. Still I enjoyed it. The influencer kind of got on my nerves a little bit, but I think that was sort of meant to be, because they wanted her to learn a lesson by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Never did figure out. I guess she was just going home. I guess we couldn't figure out if where she was going, because once she got to where she was supposed to be going, it was kind of an empty house.
Yeah.
So we were like, did she go to see family? Is this her house? Like, I'm like, we were kind of confused on that part. We could have got a little more information, I think, there.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else was pretty well fleshed out, really good. Like you said, I'm glad they did give us something on the one character, I think it was Dusty, I believe his name was, character. Yep. Towards the end. That was a really good story arc. And the ending for me, it's
satisfying, but not satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I think that they could have gone without maybe doing this typical Hallmark ending in this one. I mean, because he was technically, they technically went their separate ways. There was really no point of him, going back to the mountain to meet her. How he would have known where she was exactly at that time, don't know. They didn't really need to do that. But the actual ending, when we get to the actual ending, I thought that was a good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we can spoil that when they get back together, and it's a very happy, very happy moment. That was nice.
Yeah.
But I thought that if you would have added a different ending, I thought it could have been a better film, and it could have got to the 4 to 4.5 range. But I went with a 3.5 out of 5.
That's what I went with too, is a 3.5 out of 5.
Now this one. This is Christmas in Notting Hill.
Oh God, the one I hated.
One thing that nobody is talking about, and we will get into this in just a little bit. Okay. Christmas in Notting Hill is all about football star Graham Savo. He has always been too busy for love. But when he comes home to Notting Hill for Christmas, he changes his mind after meeting the one person who has no idea who he is. This is starring Sarah Ramos and William Moseley. William Moseley is mostly known for the Chronicles of Narnia films. The last couple films I've seen him in, I have not enjoyed. I have not enjoyed his past couple of films. Now, I have not seen okay, let's see. I haven't seen The Courier, I haven't seen Land, but I've seen Artemis Fowl, He's a very small part in it, but that's a bad film. On the Line, very solid film for like the first hour and something. Very solid film. I have a major issue with that ending because it kind of deflates the whole film that you just watched because you're on the edge of the seat and then it just goes, nope, sorry. This movie does something that I didn't really enjoy. So Sarah Ramos, named Georgia in this film, is coming to basically celebrate Christmas with her sister in London, and her fiance is going to propose to her. She meets her sister's fiance's brother, played by William, named Graham, and they end up falling in love. Here's the issue, though. If they fall in love, if these two characters get engaged, if her sister and the brother get engaged, and these two fall in love, you see the issue? The reviews I have seen have not talked about anything about that because I don't think it clicked with anybody. I was watching this and I was texting you because I was watching it the night after. I'm like, this is nasty. Yep. This is gross. It made me feel uneasy. The chemistry was there. If you would have made his brother into like a cousin or a friend or something, then it would have worked. Then it would have been fine because now they're going to be family. If all turns out well, they're going to be family. Just think about that. I don't know what was going on with this script. Not only is it a bad script, it's a bad script because no one's thinking about this ending. No one's thinking about it. The costume design is very well done. I like the costumes. It feels very like London-esque. It feels London-esque. They do a nice job of making you feel like you are in London because you have the double-decker buses. You have the accents. You have Christmas in London. Now, I don't know what it's like in Christmas in London every single year because we are not from London. We are from America. We could have snow or it could be 60 degrees. we don't know. It changes from year to year.
Yeah.
The chemistry is there between these two. I like William in this film. I like this guy a lot. I grew up with him in the Chronicles of Narnia. I want this dude to succeed. He's doing a good job in all of his roles. It's just the films have not been the best. Just the overall ending of this film ruins this movie for me. Because knowing what happens at the end of this film just completely deflates anything that happens in this film. Because there's very little issues with the actual proposal. Not only did the father not get to meet the fiance, not even, an hour before that? Yeah. He meets him and says, "Hey, sir, I'd like to marry your daughter." And he says he just walked past him and patted him on the back. Well, that's not really saying, yeah, marry my daughter because I know you like family. and saying that, saying, sure, bud, go for it. But I know a lot of people are hating this film, and I can see why. But I'm not going to give this a half star or a 1 star just because I did feel the chemistry. I liked his character. I liked her character. I liked the chemistry. I liked the overall setting. I like the costumes, but the ending and the story itself is boring and it's bad. So what did you think about Christmas in Notting Hill?
This one I almost couldn't finish. I mean, I almost couldn't. I was so tempted to turn it off about halfway through. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this because there was nothing going for it. It didn't feel Christmassy whatsoever. It felt like this movie should have been set in the spring or summer because there just was nothing Christmas about it. I mean, and some of the scenes just felt so random, like when they went to that show that you talked about in the movie. It just felt, I'm like, I don't know. It's like it was so random. Like I didn't understand why that was thrown in. I mean, we're watching this for a Christmas time film movie
Mhm.
about two people falling in love, and we get little to no decoration for it. Which makes the cinematography for me very bleak and bland because it's not bright and cheery. I mean, the decorations in the sister's apartment, it looks so cheap. The lights just hanging down off the wall. I mean, it felt like they didn't take any time. They didn't put any effort into decorating this movie to make it feel like a Christmas movie. Um, you know, yes, the chemistry was there. I liked it being set in London, but that's it. That was all that it had going for it, and it just wasn't enough. I mean, if you would have made this film, ripped it out of the Christmas category, stuck it in spring or summer, kept it as a soccer film, and you know, reworked the script a little bit,
Mhm.
you could have had a lot better film. It would have been brighter. It could have just been something more worth rewatching and giving a higher score for. But there just isn't anything here. I mean, I was bored. It didn't feel like a Christmas movie. It just felt like something that they just kind of rushed through and threw in to have the 40 or whatever
Mhm.
films this year for Christmas.
And
And
and hmm. and
go
one
ahead.
one thing that neither of us have brought up is this guy's injured. He's injured.
Yeah.
He got injured on the soccer field. We see very little of his recovery. We see very
Hmm.
little of him doing any rehab, but he can still walk around. He can still take her to the field and try and block a kick. He can still do tricks with a soccer ball. I'm sorry, if you have that sort of an injury, you got to be on some crutches. You have to be
Yeah.
doing some rehab, constant rehab, because he has no rehab. And one scene in this film, he goes back for a checkup after doing no rehab, nothing, and his doctor says, "Hey, you might be out for months, 8 to 9 months." And that's pretty much on him because he's not doing any rehab whatsoever. At least with like a taking a shot at love, we got a little bit of that rehab. We got
Yeah.
that with something like um a fourth down in love. Fourth down in love. That was a film mostly about him. Yes, he's rehabbing a little bit, but he's mostly coaching the football team. He's coaching
Hmm.
the football team, but this film was a massive disappointment. This could have been so good. This had a lot going for it, but did my big issue really bother you all that much with the ending?
It definitely. I was definitely thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely coming to me. I was surprised they went that route with it. But I think my problem was I was so took out of the movie just by how boring and dull it was
Mm-hmm.
that I just stopped really caring, stopped thinking about it because, like I said, I was very close to just shutting it off altogether, anyways. Um, but yeah, I definitely was like, I'm surprised they're doing that, but um, it.
I think you even brought that up with me, and I even mentioned something about it.
Yeah, yeah, I even said something to her about it and everything. So it definitely was the wrong choice to do. I think
Mm-hmm.
not the right route to go. One thing also I had an issue with was, in a way, was I felt the mom was sort of. I didn't like her being the one selling all the merchandise
Yeah.
of her son. I felt like that was almost like she was extorting her son, that of her
Mm-hmm.
son being this superstar. And I didn't like that scene. I was like, why is she out here at a whatever it was, little town thing,
Mm-hmm.
selling her son merchandise stuff? Like,
And one thing I do want to add is it's not going to him. He has a non nonprofit. So at least it's not going to him, it's going to his nonprofit. So I
Yeah.
will give them that, because they could have said, come and buy this autograph.
Mhm.
But instead, she did say this is going towards his nonprofit. And I like that aspect of that. But looking back, it should have been somebody else, because it could have been his brother. It could have been his brother, because it would have made a little more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could have even handled him being the one doing it, because that they just made it seem like he wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
And because, she brought him up to meet that fan,
Mm-hmm.
and he just did not have any interest whatsoever. And I thought it bothered me with the fans' reaction, because you're seeing your huge celebrity crush, or somebody you love, and you're just like, she showed no emotion toward it. And I was just like, you're seeing a celebrity, like it's your favorite soccer player, and you're just no emotion whatsoever, deadpan heart pretty much. And I'm just like, that bothered me. And I mean, this movie as a whole just bothered me. I ended up giving it a 1 out of 5. I couldn't,
Yeah.
I just couldn't go any higher. I mean, for a movie I almost was ready to shut off, I couldn't go no higher.
I went with a 2, and I think that's generous. I think a 2 is generous. Now let's get into this one, right? This is Haul Out the Holly Lit Up. Haul Out the Holly Lit Up. This is a movie that is dividing people as well. For a good reason, though. It's dividing people for a very good reason. This film, we get Emily and Jared back, and they're looking forward to the holidays together again. This time as a couple. Emily is now approaching Evergreen Lane's uniquely festive spirit, is ready to work with Jared, Ned, Mary Lewis, and Pamela to make this year's Christmas celebrations the best yet. Even if the HOA's president, even if the HOA's president's girlfriend doesn't stop those dreaded decorating citations. However, when a house comes up for sale in the area, the Jolly Johnsons come in, who are internet celebrities, and they're TV celebrities, and they just take Christmas over the top. This movie, I will go first, okay?
Okay.
I will go first. Who's my favorite star on the Hallmark Channel? Lacey.
Lacey, yeah.
Who is my favorite co-star she's had in recent years? It's between Will Kemp and Wes Brown.
I was gonna say Will Kemp, probably.
Will Kemp and Wes Brown. She's very good with Brennan Elliott. Give me more films with them, because I love those two together. They've done what, 8, 9 films together now? It always works. They have chemistry here. I really enjoyed getting our beloved characters back. I love Ned. I love Steven. I love Steven. I've loved him for years. It's Ned Ryerson. If you haven't seen the movie Groundhog Day, what are you doing? Watch it. He's probably the best part of the film. I look forward to him every single time. I grew up with him in Garfield as the villain in Garfield, which is my first movie in theaters, and I love that movie to death. I love this guy. We get Pamela back. We get Melissa Peterman. We get the Barbara Jean isms that we get in all of her comedic roles. She gives it. They all give it here. The thing that people are hating is the Jolly Johnsons. The Jolly Johnsons can be over the top. They can be over the top. They can be overbearing and annoying. But for me, it freaking worked. It worked. I was so scared they were going to be too overbearing. And for you, I know they were. I know they were too jolly and too overly just annoying. But for me, I loved them. I loved them in this movie because they played their role so well. They wrote these characters so well. The actors, Seth Morris, as Joe in here, and Jennifer Aspin as Jane, fantastic. I love these characters. Will we get a third one? We do have a little bit of a lead into the third one, which I will get into in just a minute, because that's my flaw. This movie felt like it could have been a little bit more toned down a little bit, because with the first one, it was a little bit over the top. They had a snowball fight. They have the usual stuff. The issue is I didn't really care for the turn that Ned took.
Yeah.
Because Ned, yes, you're meeting celebrities that you love, but that's like me saying, "Hey, this guy has moved into my hometown. He's right across the street from me. I'm gonna go and bug him. Whatever he says goes."
Yeah.
This movie, I wish it could have worked more. I wish it could have worked more. And the ending, Jared is leading up to the entire film, and he's trying to come up with the greatest proposal to propose. Sorry, to propose to Emily. I thought that was a little bit weak. The proposal was a little bit weak. I thought you could have done a little bit more than that, because he's so stressed out about it. He's trying to do everything. How did he get everybody in town to do that, including the Johnsons? Because the Johnsons and pretty much everybody on the side of the HOA didn't have any time together. They didn't really spend much time together in between there. And I did like the little lead up to the battle that we were going to have at the very, very end. But by that point, I liked the ending. I liked the ending between that feud there. The way they ended the feud was nice, because we didn't go through that whole entire baking thing and the trivia battle and stuff like that, because that would have felt overly long. It would have drawn this out way too long. But my issues are very minimal. They're very minimal. This is a weaker film. This is a weaker film than the first one. I think the first one's a little bit better. But I still enjoyed this enough to give this a 4 out of 5. If you didn't take that turn with Ned, if you didn't make that big of a deal of him proposing, but then not capitalizing on the fact to make it so over the top and grand on Evergreen Lane, out of all places, you should be able to do that. But it just felt sorry, not overwhelming, underwhelming. It was underwhelming. But what did you think of this film overall?
Well, I love the first one. It was one of my favorites from last year. I think it was in my top 3 for the first one. I loved having the cast back. I loved the banter between Pamela and Ned. I agree with the turn that he took. I thought that was, he so easily betrayed his friends just for a famous couple. I didn't like that.
No.
But I think they focused too much on the Jolly Johnsons. You've got a plot, what I'm going to call it a subplot here, with him trying to do this proposal. And we don't really see a lot building up to it, because they're so focused on this war with the Jolly Johnsons that they take away from his preparation and preparing for the proposal. And then you make the Jolly Johnsons this excruciating, annoying couple. The wife, Lord, the way she talked got on my nerves. The way she would hold out her words and just sound like an a-hole throughout the whole movie. And I was just, they got to be too much for me. And I don't feel like we needed them to be that type of people. I think you could have had them in the movie, but had them be like helping her put on the Christmas events while Wes's character was trying to get things prepared for the proposal, and had him come like back and forth in and out of the movie, and then have Lacey's character start to get kind of mad because she feels like he's leaving it all to her.
Yeah.
He's not doing his part. And then by the end, you get the grand proposal.
Mhm.
That's what I feel like this could have been. They could have still been the Jolly Johnsons, but they could have been nice. They could have just meshed well into the community. They could have had their little fascination with them and all this kind of stuff. But I think with the route they took, trying to make it a war in the cul-de-sac, it was for me the wrong route to take. Now, I didn't drop this to like no 2 out of 5 or nothing. This was still a 4 out of 5 film.
Mhm.
It was, it's definitely not as good as the first, but it was still good. It still had the magic, some of the magic from the first one with the bantering back and forth and stuff, and the chemistry amongst everybody.
Mhm.
But I just think they made the subplot the wrong subplot. It should have been the Jolly Johnsons as the subplot and the proposal as the main story. And I think this could have been a whole lot better. It could lead you great into a third one where they get married on Christmas, the following year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they can still do that, obviously. But this one it didn't give us that grand feeling for that proposal. And that's what really sucked. It just a complete missed opportunity on that. But
now what I will say is I loved her father coming back in.
Yeah.
Yes, that was great. Because this was like, okay, I went into retirement and now I'm back, baby. Now I'm back. Watch out.
Take down Charlie Johnson's.
That man was on a warpath. He was on a warpath. He walked right past his daughter. And then
can you blame him? I mean, they were tearing apart the whole thing he built just because they wanted to do it their way. I can't blame him on that one.
I loved it though. I wish this could have been a little bit better, but I think this is going to be a good double feature every year or so.
Mm-hmm.
With the third one, don't add in another family. Don't add in another family like the Jolly Johnsons. Keep the Johnsons in there. Keep the Jolly Johnsons in there. Give me more of Pam and Ned. Maybe them helping to plan the wedding. And then Lacey just kind of like a breakdown and says, hey, I know we do everything around this town together and this cul-de-sac together, but this is my wedding and I would like to have a little bit of control over it.
Yeah.
Without the HOA. I think that's what you could do. But I went with a 4 out of 5 for this one as well. We only have 2 more Hallmark films to talk about, and then we will go into the Naughty 9. This is one that we got very little marketing for. This is Our Christmas Mural.
Mm-hmm.
Our Christmas Mural. When single mom Olivia is secretly entered into a mural contest by her mother, she partners with the teacher, Will. I liked that we got a little bit more of a story involving the son. Because with Olivia's son in here, there's a nice chemistry built between him and his teacher. If you would have just had him there and not done anything, then this movie would have felt completely flat on its face. But I enjoyed this more as a friendship piece, along with the bit of romance we did get, but I just didn't care for the art storyline at all. I thought that the mural was a little bit forgotten about. I'm not a fan of like art. Well, see, I can't really say I'm not a fan of artsy films. I mean, Cruella, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, I got a West Side Story poster, two there and right there on the other side of me right now. But just art-based films about art, I don't really enjoy those films pretty much rarely. But what works for me in this film is the friendship built between the teacher and the son, because that relationship is so important and so integral to this plot, to building the romance. Because the son doesn't really have a father figure, and he's acting like a father figure. He's helping him with his issues. But I will just say this. This is a okay film that I don't think I'll be rewatching every year. If it's on, I may turn it on, but it's not one I'm going to go out of my way to watch. Like I will a Hall the Holly or a Three Wise Men. This is a right in the middle of the road Christmas Hallmark film. But what did you think about this film?
I think that the chemistry was there. I did laugh a couple times in it. I like the friendship between the kid and him, our main guy. My biggest thing was kind of a trend. I wanted more from our side couple, that they were sort of somewhat building, but they didn't really do a good job at it. It just kind of got ignored a little too much for me. I wish I got a little more with them. And then the mural part of it, I do feel like they could have focused a little bit more on it. They didn't really show enough of them working together on it. They do like a little montage once she finally figures out what she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But because she has that creative block, as she called it in here, which when she kind of broke out of the creative block, I felt like they did that okay. I think they could have gave us a little more to her why she broke out of that creative block, kind of explained it a little better, gave us a little more explanation for that. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it still worked. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I think that was probably higher than yours, but it definitely wasn't one that wowed me in any way. I can definitely see people just saying that this one's boring. I could definitely see, the hate for it some, just because it also in a way didn't feel like a Christmas movie exactly. It kind of just felt like an art movie, pretty much. But it still had the heart. It still had some comedy, the chemistry. Cinematography was fine, even though it wasn't really Christmassy. At least it was better than the Notting Hill.
Yeah.
But it overall was it was a fine film that I would watch every once in a while, but definitely not like something I'm going to rush to see again anytime soon.
Okay. A Biltmore Christmas. This was the film that they pushed so freaking hard at the beginning of the year, right? This is the one. This was a holiday spectacular. They spent a lot of money on this film because Biltmore Estate is expensive. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful place. I've never been there. Just because, one, I am poor. But A Biltmore Christmas. It follows Lucy, played by Bethany Joy Lenz, as she's hired to write the script for a remake of a holiday film. She joins a tour of the grounds, and when she knocks over an hourglass, she finds herself transported back to 1946. So she goes back in time to 1946, and I'm going to expand upon this a little bit because that plot synopsis doesn't really give you the full thing. She's able to come back and forth because this hourglass is magic. Is that an issue? Yes, because they don't really explain that, why it's able to do this. But this hourglass has a time limit of 1 hour. So she has 1 hour to get from here to here, to get to do what she's going to do, and she has to get back to the hourglass, or else she could be stuck there. Because it's not like it just sends her back. She has to flip the hourglass over, physically flip the hourglass over. Now, the scene that we got as the preview was the hourglass breaks. And she has to figure out how she's going to get back. She's writing this script for a film from 1946. They do have a little bit of a reference to It's a Wonderful Life in here, because this also stars Christopher Polaha. And Christopher Polaha he's been in these films for years. We all love the guy. He's fantastic, and I think he played this role to a freaking T. If he was a 1940s actor, he could have been a Jimmy Stewart. He could have been a John Wayne. He could have been a Clark Gable. He could have been any of those guys because he plays this role to a freaking T.
Yeah.
My issue with the film is, one, they don't explain how the hourglass is magic. Why it's magic. Why did it choose her?
Yeah.
But if you sit down and think about it, I'm sure there's a little bit of a reason. They just don't explain it fully. It might be because she's trying to write this script. Maybe she has to go back in time to maybe see why this ending was changed. Maybe she'll expand upon it a little bit. I don't know. I thought they could have been a little bit more in the script department. And the ending again. The ending, not going into spoilers, but without going into spoilers, something happens with the hourglass that did not make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I enjoyed the comedy of this film. I enjoyed the chemistry. The story is magical. Was the pun intended? No, but in a way, yeah. The chemistry is fantastic. Our acting is great. The costume design, nobody can say the costumes were awful, because the costumes in our time and in that time is fantastic. They did a great job of making you feel like, in the very beginning, like you're watching a film from 1946.
Yeah.
They do a very nice job. The acting in those scenes is perfect. I enjoyed everything about this film besides those two small issues. And those two small issues did not bog my grade down hardly at all. This is not a 5 out of 5. This is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Now, if you would have fixed those issues, if you would have said, this is a magical hourglass, why did it choose her? And if you would have fixed that ending a little bit, it might have been a little bit of an emotional edge to it, right? Because what she has to go through at the very tail end of the film, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. She doesn't want to do what she has to do, but she knows she has to. The ending, without going into spoilers, opens up a lot about what can be wrong with this film. However, that's not enough for me to ignore that this was a fantastic Hallmark film for me personally. And I know that people are freaking loving this thing. I've seen 5 out of 5s, best movie of the year. But that's like a Santa Summit to me. That's like a Never Been Christ.
Yeah.
Those films where I have no issues. If I could pick apart. Now, every film has something where I can pick apart. Even my favorite films of all time, I can pick something out that is unneeded. Or if I really look at it, yes. But this film, it's just those two issues. Will this get a DVD release? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be one of the top-selling freaking films next year for Christmas time. This is going to have monster ratings. I have not looked at the ratings yet, but I don't think they've dropped those yet. They just dropped the 3 of them, but I'm checking now. I know they dropped 3 of them. But this film was freaking fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to show many more people. No, they have not dropped those ratings yet. They'll probably drop them tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Well, you also got to think they had to do it for 8 films. So, but What did you think about this film?
So not going into spoilers for it. Okay. So my positives are pretty much, that's basically about the same as yours. Cinematography, chemistry, acting, costume, production, all that looked great. Okay. Can't deny it looked great, acted great, all that. But one of my big flaws you touched on, you've already mentioned with the hourglass not having a reason for it to be magic. Why her? Why now? It's been there for years. Has it worked in the past like this? There's nothing, it makes it feel so random as to why would it be her, and there's no explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my other negatives was I felt like we lost sight of the present when she was in the past, because when they go back at one time, we know that time's running out.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking away the hourglass at a party, and it's only like 24 hours away or something. And then that's all we know. We don't know if it's getting close to being time for that. There's nothing. It's like they don't give us any build up in the present to that moment when the hourglass is going to be taken away. It's just kind of forgotten about, pushed to the side, and they focus all on the past. And I felt like you should have gave us a little more in the present, to where it could build up that intense moment of, oh my God, is she going to make it back or not? Because I don't think they did that. For me personally, I don't think they did that, because we didn't know how close it was to being to party time for them to take it. And then I had the issue. I had the same issue you had with the character at the end. It to me, the ending, before they jump a year ahead.
Yeah.
To me, the ending, you worked it to be a good ending. It was it was sad, obviously, what she had to do and everything. But for me, that worked. It was different. It was something different for Hallmark. You could have been like, they're destined to be. They seem like they're so destined to be together, but they're from two different time eras, and it's just not going to work out. And that was working for me. And then they do what they do, and to get your stereotypical Hallmark ending, and it just made no sense. I didn't like it. I felt it was like a cop-out ending, just so they won't piss people off and make them mad. So the ending I would not have done. One of the other issues I had was the tour guide. Did he or did he not know about how the magical hourglass? They never really lead you to believe that he did throughout the entire movie until it jumps a year ahead. And we know the hourglass, and when it jumped a year ahead, it technically shouldn't have been there necessarily. But so that whole setup kind of threw me off. It didn't make sense to me personally. And, for me, I'm probably one of the lowest scores for this one at a 3 out of 5. But I mean, I had all those issues just kind of piling on. I mean, and I wish they could have fleshed this out and gave us a different ending and just made it make more sense. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a great chemistry. I thought they all did great. But the story, I think, could have just used a little bit more tweaking for me to make it make more sense. And you don't always have to have the typical Hallmark ending. You can have a different ending sometimes. I mean, and this was the time to have it. And that just really kind of made me mad that they did that. So
now, can you see yourself trying to watch this one again as a leisure watch, as a comfort, just shove the thing on watch, over something
Yeah.
like a mural or a
Oh
Letters of
yeah.
Santa or something like that? Because for
Yeah.
me, yeah,
Letters to Santa. That I can't do that one
no,
again. No, but yeah, I could see myself watching this again over Christmas Mural, um, Catch Me If You Claus, um, probably
Notting Hill.
not. Oh yeah, definitely Notting Hill. Maybe Holiday Road.
Yeah,
Maybe. But it was it's even though I gave Holiday Road a higher score, this one just has a little more to it, where it makes it a little more rewatchable. I guess if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense to people, but that's just how my mind works. but but yeah, this is definitely it's one I would watch again. It's probably going to be one that they put singly next year out when they
yeah.
do the Walmart releases. I would assume,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely one I would buy. But and just throw on as an easy watch.
Yeah. So there was the Merry Thanksgiving week for Hallmark Channel. We wait until next year to get 8 more films. What was the best film of the weekend for you? What was the best film of the week?
Surprisingly, even though I couldn't stand the Jolly Johnsons, it was Haul Out the Holly too.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best one, and then it would probably have been a season, maybe a season for family.
Mm-hmm.
Biltmore is just the Biltmore one. I want to say Biltmore just because it is such a grand film, but I don't know that it's hard to say what would be next after Haul Out the Holly, but definitely the Haul Out the Holly.
I think for me, it's definitely going to have to be a Biltmore Christmas, because with that one, it's so grand in scale. It has
Yeah.
everything going for it. As a comfort watch, I see this one going to be a lot of people's all-time favorite Hallmark films. I see this going to go right up there once the ratings come out, which we'll talk about next week. I would not be surprised if this is one of the highest rated films of the entire year. I don't think it's going to reach a Merry Scottish Christmas numbers. I think it might be higher than like a Christmas Island, maybe, just because it is a Biltmore. It has to do with Biltmore. That was their big thing. Because with the Holiday Spectacular, that was all about the Rockettes. It was all about Radio City Music Hall. Those are expensive places. Everybody knows those places, really. For me, I knew that stuff a little bit more than I did about the Biltmore Estate. I know very little about the Biltmore Estate. Very, very little.
Yeah.
Beautiful place. Very beautiful. But I enjoyed that one and Hall at the Holly the most. I did give a season for family a little bit higher of a score than others. So I would say that one, and then probably like Holiday Road, because the rest of the films were just meh to just bad. But Catch Me If You Claus is definitely one that I enjoyed more than the majority of them. Probably going to be my third favorite. But there's the Merry Movie Week, and we only got one more movie review for you guys this week. And that is for the new Disney film, 2 Disney films in a row, The Naughty Nine. The Naughty Nine is all about 5th grader Andy, who finds himself without a present from Santa Claus on Christmas morning, realizing he must have landed on the naughty list and feeling unfairly. He feels that he has been unfairly treated by Santa Claus without getting a gift. So he gets a team together of 8 other naughty kids, and they say that they're going to go up to the North Pole and basically steal the gifts that they were not given. Let's just get this out of the way. Danny Glover is Santa Claus. That's not a flaw. He's Danny Glover. He is never a flaw in anything. It should be stated that he is not in the film very often. He's in the last, 10 minutes? Maybe
Probably,
10 minutes. I did not enjoy this film whatsoever. I enjoyed a couple elements, okay? Our lead, named Winslow. I've seen him in a couple of films, and he's very, very good. Very good young actor. I really enjoyed him in a Christmas film last year, in 2021 called 8-Bit Christmas. That's a really good film. I enjoyed him in Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Surprisingly, I enjoyed that film. He was somewhat of a bully, but turns out to be a friend in Come Play. He was in Rough Night, and this is also his second Disney film. He was in Timothy Failure, which I was not a fan of that film as much as everybody else was. I mean, I thought it was fine, but this is definitely a lesser film than this one. The kids are so unlikable. You do nothing to redeem these kids from being on the naughty list. The way they do this of getting them off the naughty list, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I will say they do get off the naughty list is just a little bit unsatisfying because it seems like they get off completely scot-free. I will say that I do like that that the parents did worry about where they were, where the kids actually were, because in a lot of these films, it's mostly like, "Hey, we didn't even know you were gone," or it's like they freeze time or something. That happens a lot in these films where kids go off on an adventure and they just have no repercussions, and the parents are not very worried when they come home. They're like, "Hi, oh, you're home, nice." But the kids were very unlikable. The cinematography was nice, but just overall the story was very boring, a little drawn out. The acting was fine, but I just did not enjoy this film hardly at all. I wanted more from this film. I enjoyed dashing through the snow a lot more, but this is one that could have been a lot better. This could have been a lot more of a comedy, could have worked a lot more, but just a overall disappointing film for me. What did you think about the Naughty Nine?
Well, I didn't have high hopes going into it just because it did come on the Disney Channel before going to Disney Plus first.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, it took a lot in me to keep interested and invested in this movie. I don't think you needed 9 kids in this movie. I felt like at least 2 of them had very little to do. I mean, one was asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like they had too many pieces in this. Like you said, I think the resolution at the end was very underwhelming, not satisfying whatsoever. I didn't really find it to be a movie that many families or kids could sit down and watch and have fun with. I mean, maybe if because there's, like you said, Santa's not in this that much. I mean, you go to the North Pole, but again, with this film, the elves don't really look like elves, and so it felt like Christmas, but a Christmas movie. It felt like North Pole, but at the same time, it didn't. And but I just felt like my biggest positives was I think the cinematography once they got to the North Pole looked fine. It looked nice. I thought I liked the way they did the North Pole. I thought the kids had good chemistry amongst themselves, so, and everything. But overall, the story just it didn't work for me. and they had set up such a interesting story between the main boy and his best friend.
Yeah.
The girl that was his best friend. And I don't think like they capitalized on that enough.
No, they did.
You had something there that you could have capitalized on. You could have made it a more heartfelt moment there. And they try to give you that towards the end, but it doesn't work fully for me. And so, unfortunately, overall, I think I gave this one a 2. I give it a 2 out of 5, I think. Let me just check here and see because I can't remember. It's definitely not one that I could recommend. That's for sure.
I do believe that you did give that one a 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 out of 5 for this one. Which I mean, it's still saying a lot for a movie that I about couldn't. That I had to really try to push myself to get through. But
thankfully, it was only 82 minutes, so
yeah.
it's not like it was a long film. But
yeah,
I also went with a 2 out of 5 for this one. I'm very interested. I'm very interested to see what they do with their. I want to call it a short film called The Shepherd this upcoming week, and that's only going to be like 38 minutes. So I am looking forward to seeing what that actually is. I know very little about it, but there's our reviews. And thank you guys for staying this long, but we do have a little bit of news and we have a couple more trailer reviews. So let's get right into this first. Ted has a brand new thing coming to TV. It's a series coming to Peacock on January 11th. I don't know if you like the Ted films, but I personally love the first Ted. I think it's very, very good. The second Ted, it's fine. The second Ted film is fine. I mean, it has its moments. It's not as funny as the first one. Mark Wahlberg and Seth MacFarlane is really, really good together. Great chemistry. But this trailer, I thought this trailer felt like it was a true continuation of a teenage Ted growing up with his friend. I thought that this really, really worked. I can't wait to watch this one. What I'm hoping they don't do is drop the whole thing at once. Do it week by week to gain viewership, because Ted was a big thing.
Yeah.
Ted was a massive. It was massive. I'm not kidding. When Ted was coming out, I can't tell you how many times when there's like a thunderstorm, I'll scroll through my my Facebook, and I still see Thunder Buddies.
Yeah.
I still see that, and it's been since 2013.
Yeah.
But I thought that this trailer was very, very good. I think it capitalizes on it. I'm a Seth MacFarlane fan. I love Family Guy, especially early Family Guy. Early Family Guy is always the best, but even now, it's still pretty funny. From the episodes I've seen from the past couple of seasons, I really do enjoy it still. I enjoy his style of humor. But what did you think of the trailer for Ted?
So I enjoyed the first Ted movie. It's a classic. The second Ted movie, I remember very little about. I think they bring in, is it Amanda Seyfried maybe into the second one because they couldn't get Mila back or whatever. But that's about all I remember from the second one. It's not a memorable one for me. But this one does look really good. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this, because it seems like they're bringing in a lot of different pieces with this one from their first attempt at doing drugs and all this kind of stuff that gets hinted on or that we see them do in the first movie. So it'd be interesting to see how be interesting to see how they work all those episodes and all that. But it looks like a Ted TV series. I mean, that's the best way to put it. This looks like a possible fun Ted TV series that I look forward to watching and having us eventually review on the podcast
Mhm.
once we get it done, either it's week by week thing or if they drop it all at once. I don't know,
Yeah.
but we'll see how they do it. But it definitely looks like it's going to be a fun one.
If they drop it all at once, I think it's going to be a very easy binge because these are not going to be long episodes. I don't see these being like a 45-minute to 1 hour episode. I see these as like a 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What, 6 to 8 30-minute episodes? I think those are plenty long enough for a show like a TED series. But next up, we will be talking about the new trailer for Night Swim. The first time I saw the trailer, the teaser for Night Swim was in front of Five Nights at Freddy's. I had never seen it before. I knew the movie was coming out, knew very little about the film. This trailer is better. This trailer is better. I have a lot more faith in this one than I do for Imaginary.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's be honest. What is coming out in January besides Night Swim that's going to make a splash like relatively early in the year? There's not a whole lot. There's really not. Looking at the release calendar for January, once I get to it, well, it still says that some films are coming out in 2024. So we would have Memory on January 5th and Night Swim on January 5th. Mean Girls, The Beekeeper, and The Book of Clarence all come out on the 12th. Something called Founders Day and Tiger's Apprentice on the 19th. Fighter and Teacher's Pet on the 25th. Underdogs on the 26th. And we get into some bigger films like Argyle and It Ends With Us, Lisa, Frankenstein, and Madam Web for February. So I think that Night Swim is going to start off the year. Hopefully it's like a Blumhouse film like Megan.
Yeah.
Because Megan, nobody was expecting that film to be as fun or as good as it was.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Nobody was expecting that film to be as good as it was. I think this film looks very solid. I think it has some promising moments in the trailer, particularly in the pool. I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of a story of like what is actually in the water, what's happening, who is this lady. There's a very creepy moment where you get a underwater shot looking out of the pool. That was a very creepy moment. I do enjoy that, but as the horror fan you are, how excited are you for this film? Because I know that Blumhouse and you do not get along. You don't go hand in hand a lot.
Not recently.
Yeah. I'm a lot more forgiving with the Blumhouse brand because I enjoy films like Ma.
Yeah.
I enjoy a smaller film they did called Delirium. There it is, Delirium with Topher Grace. Very good film from Blumhouse Tilt. But I enjoy them. What did you think of this trailer, and how excited are you for this?
Well, when we got the teaser, I wasn't overly excited about it. It looked like it could go, it could look like it could go either way. This is Blumhouse, so it could be, your cliche, standard, come play type movie.
Mm-hmm.
But with this new trailer, it definitely gets me more excited. I think I like the concept of this. I like that it's sort of affecting another person in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they can explain it to make sense. I hope that they give us something that makes it feel, at least to me, I know probably not to everybody, but at least to me, like it's just not basic standard B-level horror movie. Give me a little bit more to it. Which I think they can. I mean, with the route they're going that we see from this trailer, I think they can make this a very interesting movie. And I mean, it's James. I think it's James Wan, right? James Wan.
Yeah.
Not Swim. So that right there gives it bonus points as it is. I mean, he usually does typically pretty well with his stuff. So definitely look forward to seeing it. Looks like it's going to have some good moments from the trailer. So I keep my fingers crossed. I'm not going to have a whole lot that I'm going to be interested in January other than Night Swim, Beekeeper, and Founders. Those are pretty much my top three to start the year next year. So hopefully they're good. I don't want to start the year off on a bad note with the movies.
Next up, we have Nosferatu. It gets a release date. Nosferatu is a film that really very few people know is coming, and that's completely understandable. That is completely understandable. With a movie like this, you can easily see why very few people know about it. Now, Nosferatu is not a very well-known horror villain now, unless you're a SpongeBob fan. That is his biggest moment in the past 20 years. 20 to 25 years. Because well, I mean, come on. In the episode of Graveyard Shift, if you're over there and you're over there, then who was flickering the lights? Nosferatu. But I have not seen the 1922 original. I have not seen that horror film.
No.
I don't know if I will before I see this one. What has me interested, though, is this cast. This cast is stacked. You have Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe. Wow, I didn't even know this. We have Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, Nicole Kidman, and I believe that they just announced that we were. Didn't they just announce that we were going to get Mia Goth as well? I thought they said that Mia Goth was in this.
I thought she was supposed to be.
I believe I saw that Mia Goth was supposed to be in this, but maybe she was replaced. But I thought she was supposed to be in it. I mean, it wrapped filming, but the key thing is here that we got. Oh no, sorry. She was in the Frankenstein film at Netflix. That's what it is. But still, the cast for that is freaking stacked.
Yeah.
It's a massive cast. I'm hoping that they do it very, very well. Not knowing the story of the original, not seeing the original film, it's going to be a little bit different for me as a fan. One, because I'm going in for the actors. But also it's Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers is a filmmaker that I've seen one film by him, and that's The Lighthouse. A very good film, in my opinion, but you have seen both of his other films that are big. You've seen The Witch, and you've seen The Lighthouse. I know you were not a fan of The Lighthouse. But what about The Witch?
Yeah, I like that one. I still own that one, but I would not own The Lighthouse whatsoever. That was not for me.
And that's completely understandable. The Lighthouse is not for everybody. It's a very weird film. It's a very weird film, but it's right up my alley. I enjoy that film. Fantastic performances. And then we have, I don't think that you knew that this was coming out. Neither did I. I didn't remember a confirmation of this getting greenlit. The Black Phone 2 with Ethan Hawke, and the main cast will be returning. The rest of the main cast will be returning with Ethan Hawke. What are your thoughts on this? Because we both watched the film.
Yeah.
And I know that you and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about a sequel? because I enjoyed the film.
Mhm.
It's Blumhouse. That's a Blumhouse hit that I really did enjoy.
Yeah.
Creepy moments. How are you going to do it this time, though? That's what I want to know.
To me, this just feels like a cash grab. I mean, the way the first one ended, you don't need a sequel. There's no way to set up a sequel unless you do a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the only thing they can do is a prequel.
They
Because
kill him, didn't they?
yeah, they kill him at the end. So
Yeah.
there's no way to do it. So obviously it's going to have to be a prequel, and I don't
Maybe
need
not.
that. I don't know. I don't know who's asking for that. I mean, I don't know why they think this is one of those films that just definitely feels like it's going to be. It could be good. It could be, just as good as the first one, but it's definitely just a cash grab. And Blumhouse does that. That's the thing with Blumhouse is they will give you sequels to almost every one of their movies when it's not needed. I
Where's
mean,
Ma 2?
yeah,
Where is Ma 2?
I can
Give
live with that Ma too, but
I want Ma 2. I want that because I enjoyed that film. But we get
well, it's just
this, but not Ma 2? Really? Come on.
well, it's just like I can technically live without Megan too. I mean, I don't necessarily need a Megan too, but you know that could also be considered probably a cash grab with the way that movie ended and stuff. But this is why I always say sometimes sequels aren't warranted to films or prequels aren't warranted to films. Sometimes one and done is perfectly fine. Um, but we'll see. I mean, I'll see what the trailer looks like. I'll see what the story they're going with is. Um, maybe we'll just get to see Ethan Hawke um, get his victims
Somebody
from the
else.
past. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but definitely cash grab in my opinion for this.
Well, I mean, we already know some of the other kids that
Mhm.
he he did that too. So I don't know how you can do a sequel to it with the ending of that film and with these new kids or with the same cast, because if he kidnaps them again, are you going to have the same thing happen again where it's just another villain coming in to be a part of the film? I don't know well, with all the speculation, are you going to watch the film? Like, do you have a interest in it without knowing that if they told you that a Black Phone 2 was coming, right?
Mhm.
With liking the first film, would you be interested in the second film?
No,
No?
no, because the first one ended to where a sequel to me doesn't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
and a prequel really to me doesn't make sense if you're bringing back the same cast.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I don't have a lot of excitement for it. I don't have a lot of interest in it. Um, that could change once the trailer drops and we see more about what it's going to be. But no, if you just come up to, if I just saw Black Phone 2 coming next year, I'm gonna be like, why?
Yeah.
Why do we need it?
But let's be honest here. The first film was good. The first
Mhm.
film was a good film. Very creepy moments here and there, good performances, and since it made money, I know why they're doing a sequel, but do we need a sequel? Technically not. But if you want to make a sequel, I mean, I'll see what the trailer is. Well, I'll end up seeing it. You'll probably end up you'll probably see it either at home or at work.
Yeah,
And I'll probably see it at home because I don't think my theater even got the first one in.
I don't think they did.
No. Mm-mm. But lastly, for the news topics before we get into the brief what's coming soon. We're not going to go into the drama of what happened with Scream 7 because that's still unfolding. It's still unfolding. There's been some more stuff come up, but what you sent me when I was at work today was that they are working on a reboot, which is what I said last week. I said what you do is you either bring Nev back and pay her what she wants because she's your lead star of the franchise. If it wasn't for her, I don't know if the Scream movies would have been as popular. Because if you have taken her out of 2, 3, or 4, or 5, I don't know if you would have had as big of a box office. Now with 6, they didn't give her the money that she wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the box office went up from 5.
Yeah.
What's happened now is still evolving. But since we're getting a reboot, what I wanted to go over is this. Who do you see as potential stars who can take the place of a Jenna Ortega and a Melissa Barrera? Because if they can't get a Neve Campbell to come back, what do you do? Who do you cast? Is there a name that you can think of off the top of your head to bring in that horror crowd? Is there a name that the horror fan base can really attach themselves to? Because I have a couple that I think could be a really good choice. But you go first.
Honestly, I mean, so many of these younger stars that always come to my mind would be way too much for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mia Goth, obviously, people were wanting her in this movie, but I don't know if what she's going for. I don't know what her paycheck looks like with Maxine coming out, and she's got the Frankenstein movie and Blade. I mean, she's getting into Marvel now, so her paycheck's probably going to be way too expensive for them.
Yep.
I mean, do you bring in some names you haven't heard in forever, like a Dove Cameron or something, and try to pull from past Disney stars or something that haven't done much work in forever? Do you go after? I mean, could you go? I don't know if Bella Thorne would be really expensive now. I mean, she's not really doing anything major. Can you go after somebody like her?
I think that with a Bella Thorne, I think she'd ask for way more money than any of them.
I think even though she's not worth it, I think so. Yeah.
She's had a couple really good films.
Mm-hmm.
She had The Babysitter and The Babysitter Killer Queen. Babysitter 1's way better. It's a way better film, but her film Midnight Sun is freaking fantastic. That's a good romance film. Then she's had films like Habit and Masquerade and Game of Love and Time Is Up. I don't know if you could get her because I think that her asking price is way too high. Because yes, the budgets for those were low, but she was the main reason you watched it, and she is a name. But what I was thinking is for a star that doesn't do horror. I know she doesn't do a whole lot. What you could do is you could get a Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once and Joyride. I think you could do that because Joyride is a lower budget film, but here's the thing. She also has an Oscar nomination on her mantle now. She has it on her repertoire. So with that Oscar nomination, is that too much? Would she be asking too much for it? The one that I would really like to see. Now, a lot of people, we went through names before we started to record.
Mm-hmm.
Was Emma. Emma McKay, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Wednesday, which I still have not seen. She would not do it out of respect for Jenna.
Yeah.
Because Jenna left. If Jenna left, then she's not going to do it for the same exact reason.
Yeah.
The name that I brought up that I think makes the most sense off the top of my head right now. Now, once they announce the cast, right, then I'll be like, okay, sure, awesome. With this, I think Sophia Lillis. Sophia Lillis played Beverly in It, in the 2017 It, and the same character in a little bit of Chapter 2. She's a nice young actress. Very good in the It movies. She's known in the horror world. She probably wouldn't have a massive asking price. So I think Sophia Lillis might be a little bit of a good pick there for it. But looking at some of these under names of like the under 30 crowd, I'm seeing like a Chloe Grace Moretz, Elle Fanning, Dakota Fanning, Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown, no, not for Scream. No, with everything that she is making on Stranger Things and the Godzilla films and the Enola Holmes films, the asking price is way too high for her. The
She is. She does
Spyglass,
have a horror coming out, like a horror thriller coming out.
yeah, but Spyglass can't afford her. If they can't do a Jenna Ortega, they can't do a Millie Bobby Brown. They just can't. But there's that topic. But now let's go into the fun topic of what is coming next week. We have a loaded week. Not as loaded as this week with 8 new Hallmark films, but still a loaded week. So starting off, we have 5 Hallmark films. 4,
I think.
4, yeah, 4. Because the one on Hallmark Movies Now is next week. So to start it off on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, we will be getting a film that I'm very. Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking ahead. We have 3. We already reviewed the one. We had Time for Her to Come Home for Christmas. So I was thinking about To All Good Night, and sorry, we've already seen that film. But so we got 3 Hallmark films. The one that you're looking forward to the most is My Norwegian Holiday with Rhiannon Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Then we will have A Not So Royal Christmas with Brooke Dorsey and Will Kemp. Looking forward to that one. I saw the preview for that one. I think that looks very intriguing. I think that looks like a very fun comedy. Will Kemp being a fake royal, being caught up in a lie. I think that's going to be very interesting. Of course, we've seen the lie and then they fall in love and stuff like that. We've seen that many times, but it just depends on how this one works with this big of a cast. And then we have Christmas with a Kiss, which is a Hallmark Mahogany film. So we will see how that one goes. But then we will have quite a few films coming out on streaming because this is a big week for streaming. Let me get the list up here. Where are you? There you are. So November 30th, as we are filming this, it comes out tomorrow, and that is Family Switch on Netflix. That looks like it could be a very, very good family comedy. I'm hoping it's a good family comedy. On November 1st, there will be Don't Suck with Matt Rife, a vampire horror comedy. And then December, I will be watching and reviewing December. I don't know if you will be seeing that film or not. That's completely up. No? Okay.
No, I have no interest in that one.
Okay. And then I will be renting How the Gringo Stole Christmas with George Lopez. It's George Lopez. I want to see it. We will also have Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy. You will be watching The Exorcist Believer. I will not. I will
Oh,
be
come on now.
if you can skip May, December, I can skip The Exorcist. I have no interest in The Exorcist. You have no interest in May, December. And then we have only a couple more films. I will be covering The Shepherd from Disney Plus. It's 38 minutes. And then we will also have It's a Wonderful Knife. That will be coming out on Shudder and AMC Plus this upcoming Friday. And then I will also be seeing The Hunger Games, The Battle of Songbirds and Snakes on Saturday. So I could probably talk about that next week. But there's everything that we will be talking about next week. We will be talking about pretty much the same stuff. We'll have a couple different things that the other did not watch, but there's everything. Like and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for staying this long. And where can we find you on social media?
As per usual, just on YouTube at Scottie and Ashley Johnson.
And you can find me right here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on Letterboxd, Noah Kaser. Thank you guys for watching this video, and stay tuned because all of these videos will be uploaded in singular segments, their own reviews and their own videos. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see all of you guys next time.